Welcome back. We'll take a peek into the life of Sarah Mitaru, a woman of two parts, musician and activist. Enjoy this.
Sarah Mitaru is a Kenyan activist musician. She is one of Africa's finest female vocalists who expresses her thoughts through music. She began singing at an early age, but it wasn't until the year 2000 that she turned professional.
I grew up in a musical family, but it wasn't necessarily my parents, but my elder sister who encouraged us to do a lot of singing. So we were singing all the time, everywhere, all the time. And we grew up in church, so we sang a lot in church. But I remember, I was told rather, my first musical was when I was 2. And I never really thought I would become a musician full-time, but I knew my life would be part and parcel of music. So as I grew up, I went into university, I became more sure that I wanted to be a musician. So it was much later that then I stopped working and I said, this is what I want to do full-time. So I feel like I got into the game late, but it's never too late to do what you want to do.
In the year 2005, her debut performance of the African version of Drummer Boy saw her first single from a charitable Christmas album reach the top 20 charts on the national Irish charts for 2 weeks. This move jump-started her career in music, after which she moved to the UK to perform regularly and build a fan base.
I took 2 years, a sabbatical for 2 years, to go and to make sure that I was sure that this is what I wanted to do. At the time, being in the music industry in Kenya, there were very few musicians. I think there were like 2 producers in the country. There were like 4 known singers. You know, it was almost a completely misunderstood field as what it is today.
Sarah has consistently performed in her home country, Kenya, where she is based, with her concerts being sold out. She has also shared the stage on many occasions with various international artists. Her performances at home and abroad are exhilarating, energetic, and breathtaking.
Baby, you said, oh yeah, baby, you said that you would never walk away from me, that if I fell, you would carry me.
I have a heart for Africa and its musicians, so sharing stage with people like Tandis Ramazwai, Femi Kuti, for me is more valuable than having worked with any other person, because these are people who are there before. My biggest regret in life is not having shared a stage with Miriam Makeba before she passed away, because these are people who have been there, and they are a legacy of not just music, but music and activism.
Music fills the air as she pushes the cause for truth and justice.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, Jesus.
It was only at one point I began to feel very helpless about the situation in my country, which is Kenya, where governance was an issue, and just feeling like we were not growing, we were not developing, and it was okay. And so it was at that point in time that I knew that I needed to say something about it. Now, what I found amazing is that public speakers would be looked down upon, or people would talk over them. But as long as a musician stood to give a message, people kept quiet. It didn't matter. People just kept quiet. And whether you are speaking to heads of state, to family, to civil society, it didn't matter. As long as you're a musician and you are saying something, they kept quiet.
Aside from being a musician, she has earned credits both locally and internationally for being a humanitarian and an activist.
I think my greatest challenge has been finding the fine balance between being an activist and being a musician. Understanding that we live in a developed and modern and pop society, which needs to see the value of you as a musician and your value as a top-notch singer, and then being able to turn that and be an effective activist. I still feel that till today, there's so much more that I can be. in terms of balancing the both, because sometimes I feel like one takes over the other, and mostly I felt like the activist has taken over from the musician. So I'm going to spend the next couple of years balancing out the musician side of things.
She was recently named the UN Habitat Messenger of Truth in recognition of her advocacy for truth. Also, she was picked in 2008 by the United Nations Millennium Campaign amidst celebrities like Nelson Mandela to be an advocate for the United Nations Millennium Campaign. Sarah is passionate about women's rights. She's an ambassador against gender-based violence, as well as a mentor for young women in the continent.
Women having have worked through so many difficulties over the last 40 to 50 years, be it equal pay, be it basic human rights, be it gender-based violence, for me, I find them to be heroes. And the one thing about women that I have found is that our success is going to be based a lot on being able to stand on the feet of giants. And so I think there need to be more women who give gaps to women to be more and more successful in their fields.
Sarah's music is very inspiring, and especially because as a musician, when you're playing music, you really need to feel the music when you're playing it. And I can attest and say that I feel her music when I'm playing it.
Well, it sure feels good to see women who are successful. Sarah Mitaru there for you. She combines music with activism, making her voice a tool for change. I mentioned earlier in the program that you will get to meet a black female wine maker. Well, Praise Dlamini is a name to be reckoned with in the South African wine industry.
Winemaking is big business in South Africa, but it wasn't always like this. Dating back to 1659, wine in South Africa received very little attention. Now, the country is one of the fastest growing wine countries in the world. It regularly ranks among the world's top 10 wine producers. Barely 6 years ago, homemade beer was the only alcohol South Africans drank.
There's a huge market for the wine these days. There's a big shift. I can look at my sales of wines and the interest of people when they come to eat at Mzoli's. They want a Mzoli Melo with a chop. It's very popular.
Due to its location at the tip of the African continent, the climate and soils are conducive to grape farming. Though things are changing, there is still a short supply of black winemakers and an even smaller supply of black female winemakers. These circumstances, however, have not stopped the slow but steady increase of women taking advantage of the booming industry in South Africa. One woman fearless enough to venture into the male-dominated industry to make a name for herself is Praise Dlamini.
Winemaking was just not my choice. When I was doing grade 12 in my high school level, the Department of Agriculture, the National Department of Agriculture, they ran a pilot program where they approached schools where they selected 5 best students. When the professor was conducting the seminar, he had these pictures of students stamping on the grapes, and to me it looks so exciting. It looks so lively, and that's just who I am. I like to be outside. I'm a hardworking person, and I said, let me just try that. Maybe it's going to be interesting.
Dlamini works for a major distillery in the heart of South African vineyards as an assistant winemaker after being the first woman to attend the Cape Winemakers Guild. With the likes of Praise Dlamini, more women are likely to get involved in the South African wine industry.
That is quite a feat. Congratulations to Praise. And just before we go, let me remind you of how special you are. In the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, a woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she gets in the hot water. And according to Virginia Satir, women need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, 12 hugs a day for growth. And so spare no hugs for that lovely woman in your life. It could be me. And with that, we've come to the end of today's program. To join us again, same time next week for another interesting episode of A Woman's World. I am Fadishola Shotingwa. Many thanks for watching.